on, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and start the meeting. Time 5:05 is what I have. If we could start out with Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to open forum. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, members of the commission shall not discuss, deliberate, or make any decisions on topics not posted as an agenda item. Speakers should address all remarks to the commission and limit your remarks to no more than 3 minutes. And when you do come up and address the commission, if you would please state your name and full address. It's a requirement. Moving on to consent agenda 4A, consider approval of minutes from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on March 9th, 2026. We'll entertain a motion when ready.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same, so unanimous. Moving on to 5A, regular agenda, public hearing, discuss and consider action on a historical overlay case HO 2025-02 regarding a historic overlay designation on one parcel of land approximately 0.18 plus or minus acres in size, more particularly described by the Nacogdoches Central Appraisal District, parcel 23796, and located at 515 Bailey Avenue, Nacogdoches, Texas. And turn it over to Mr. City Planner, or absolutely.
And we can.
Hi, Jessica Sal, Community Services Director and Historic Preservation Officer for City of Nacogdoches. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have about this item that was presented at the last P&Z meeting.
I believe the commissioner that requested that we hold off is not here today. However, her questions, I think, were along the lines of if it's admitted into the historic overlay, if the building should get into some type of a deteriorated state, whose responsibility is it for the eyesore?
Sure. So any properties put under historic overlay, that responsibility lies with the property owner. So whether it is owner occupied or used by a renter, that property owner is still subject to everything under the historic ordinances. So if the property has broken windows, rotten wood, paint that's peeling, we have a ordinance in there called demolition by neglect. So usually we start off with a nice neighborly conversation that, hey, your windows are broken, you're in a historic overlay, or you've been individually designated, so it's your responsibility to keep these properties in good working condition and to keep them from deteriorating. Usually that's where it ends, and they're like, great, thank you, we'll fix the window and move on from there. If the property is not kept in order and that neighborly conversation doesn't go any further, then we do send an official letter saying, we are finding you possibly in violation of demolition by neglect, which means you're going to let your property kind of deteriorate to the area where the only option is to then demolish it. Usually at that point, it kind of gets people's attention and they see that official letter that's certified and they go fix their property. If it's fixed at that point, then we don't go any further. But if it keeps deteriorating, there are fines and fees and additional letters. But essentially, they are beholden to everything in our historic preservation ordinance.
Jessica, just for my own edification. So in other words, the property owner is signing up for more strict rules around how they protect their property.
They are.
Okay.
They are. Our Historic Landmark Preservation Committee does not go out and request these properties be put under overlay. This is initiated by the property owner. And so they not only have to follow our city code of ordinances and things like, you can't leave your grass to grow too tall, but they now have additional restrictions on the exterior of their property that they are signing up for.
And I wasn't here last time, so my apologies. Why would someone want to do this?
A lot of times people want to make sure they love their homes, but they also know that if someone else buys it, they may want to demolish it or change it, and they want that piece of history preserved. So a lot of times it's for that, just for future generations to have. A lot of times there are properties that are very historic that then want to apply for like a Texas Historic Commission marker or to be international registered listing. And this is usually, it doesn't guarantee that, but it definitely helps with their application. And there's also historic restoration grants they are eligible for every year. They would apply, say, here's what we're going to do to the outside of the property. If the work is approved, they would get a certain percentage of their money reimbursed. They're not large grants. We have $25,000 that we give out every year But one year we had that spread amongst 16 applicants. So most people get a couple $1,000s back. But usually it's just to make sure their property is preserved for future generations.
Is there an adjacent property that's under?
There is, this property, if approved, would be next to another property that was individually designated a little less than a year ago. It's Dr. Baker's office building. That's a doctor's office and has been since, I believe, the early 1900s. This property was frequently used for the doctors that were coming in residence and would rent this property, and is kind of the sister property to it. It's a different design style, but it's the same owner. This one, I believe, his daughter lives in currently, and then the doctor's office has been designated under historic overlay.
If there were future, I mean, this is wedged between the hospital, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
which is, no telling what's going to happen there relative to growth or on that property. And then, of course, it's wedged between Stephen F. Austin, which is sandwiched in.
Mm-hmm.
Does this preclude any kind of future development in there should the owner want to do that? I mean, is it, once it's designated, can it be sold and turned into commercial property, or?
It can be. So historic overlay zoning doesn't dictate what is done with the property zoning wise. It can be
Okay.
lived in. They could change it to commercial. Really, the historic overlay zoning just dictates how the outside of the property looks.
Okay.
And they can request to do changes, additions. They can even request to demolish it in the future. But this puts extra steps in place. So if they wanted to do that, they'd have to go through HLPC and then move forward with that process. So they could still turn it commercial or do things like that. We don't want to make historic preservation hard or cumbersome for the properties, but we do want to be able to maintain those historic exteriors.
Perfect. I'm not super familiar with it, so you're educating me here, so thank you.
I'm happy to do so.
Thank you, Jessica. Anything else?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your time.
And it came back unanimous by the Historic Overlay Committee?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
It was voted unanimously on for
Okay.
this item.
Thank you. We'll entertain a motion when ready.
I make a motion to accept.
Is there?
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same, so it carries unanimously. Thank you, Jessica, for doing that, appreciate it. Moving on to 5B, public hearing, discuss and consider action on a specific use permit case SUP 2026-03 regarding a specific use permit request for a utility facility major in a R-2 single-family district on one parcel of land approximately 2.91 acres plus or minus in size, more particularly described by the Nacogdoches Central Appraisal District Parcel 25733, and generally located on the south side of Southeast Stallings Drive, approximately 200 feet west of Lovere Drive. Don't know that I've ever seen that street name. Nacogdoches, Texas. Mr. City Planner, turn it over to you, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Juan Paulette, City Planner. So this property is approximately 2.91 acres in size and is located along Southeast Stallings Drive. The site is currently developed with an existing Encore substation and is adjacent to residential homes to the east and industrial type uses to the west. The southern portion of the property is undeveloped and is where the proposed expansion will occur. The subject property is zoned single-family residential. The surrounding area consists of a mix of residential zoning to the east and industrial zoning to the west, with additional undeveloped land to the south. The subject property is designated industrial on the future land use map. The designation extends along the corridor to the west, where areas to the east are designated for single-family residential. The proposed expansion of the existing utility facility is consistent with the industrial future land use designation. This slide shows the proposed site plan for the expansion of the existing substation. The expansion is located towards the rear of the property and includes additional electrical equipment and associated infrastructure. Access to the site will remain from Stallings Drive, and no significant changes to access or circulation are proposed. Also shown here are the proposed 8-foot concrete screening wall along the site adjacent to the residential properties, intended to help mitigate visual and noise impacts. In addition, existing vegetation along the property lines will be preserved where it does not conflict with proposed construction. And this is a view of the entrance of the subject property from the loop. And then the adjacent properties to the west that are industrial. And some adjacent residential properties to the east. And this slide shows a 200-foot notification area for this request. Property owners within 200 feet were mailed notice letters, and property owners within 200 and 500 feet were received courtesy notice postcards. A neighborhood meeting was held, and 6 residents attended the meeting and expressed their concerns. The concerns were primarily related to noise from existing and proposed transformers, the proximity to new equipment to nearby homes, perceived health impacts related to electromagnetic fields, potential access through adjacent properties, and nighttime maintenance activity impacting residential properties. Staff has reviewed this request based on these criteria and with input from property owners have developed recommended conditions to address concerns raised. The 8-foot masonry screening wall along residential property line, as well as preservation of existing vegetation that does not overhang into the substation or encroach within 15 feet of the security fence to maintain a natural buffer. Additional conditions include minimizing noise and light during maintenance activities and restricting access to the site from Stallings Drive only. These conditions are intended to reduce potential impacts and help maintain compatibility with adjacent residential properties. And this concludes my presentation, and the applicant Ashton Miller would like to address the commission.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Ashton Miller. I'm a project manager with Encore. So just to
State your address, please.
yes, 777 Main Street in Fort Worth, Texas. So our request tonight is for approval of a specific use permit to allow for the expansion of the existing substation. Encore, we've owned the property since 1969. We are replacing 2 existing transformers with new transformers, as well as adding 2 brand new transformers further into the property along what is today the transmission corridor. So the essentially this existing station has reached its end of life, and so to be able to provide our safe, reliable electricity, improvements are needed to that existing substation. Currently, the station serves 2,140 residents and businesses within the area of the South Nacogdoches area, as well as it connects to our distribution network that is outside of the city limits. And I've got a visual that kind of shows that. So we've got our existing substation that's there today. It's just under half of an acre. Went in service to serve residents of Nacogdoches in 1969. It's a 2-transformer substation with 1 existing drive, and it is surrounded today by a chain link fence with barbed wire on top. So we've got our new plan that it slightly picks the new station up and shifts it further to the south away from the loop. It expands the station about 0.67 acre. We are upgrading the east side of the station from a chain link fence to an 8-foot masonry screening wall. Essentially, it'll look like stone, and I've got a picture to show you guys what that'll look like in the future after construction. We're still maintaining a single point of access along the loop, and then there's 1 control center enclosure today, which is essentially just houses electrical equipment from the elements. There's 1 today. That one will be replaced, and then we'll add a new one on the south side of the station. So here is just kind of how this substation fits into the overall grid that serves Nacogdoches. So you can see this one, Nacogdoches South, is what we call this substation. It's there in the red box down below and just how that connects into our transmission lines in relation to the city. And then I mentioned here's a visual representation of that just over 2,000 businesses and residents that utilize and depend on this substation. So you can just see kind of how much it affects the residents within Nacogdoches, but also outside of Nacogdoches. And there's those distribution lines that do connect into the station. And so we heard some concerns during our neighborhood meeting, just how close our station is to their back property lines and their back fences. So just wanted to provide, I believe today that chain link fence is just over 34 feet away from their back property line, and the closest transformer is 47 feet away from. So I just wanted to provide some information on there for what it is today. And then here we have a future of what it will look like after construction takes place. So let's see, the transformers to the back property lines is still maintaining that 57 feet for the new transformers, and then on the north side, the two new transformers that will replace the ones that are there today, those will be increased to a distance about 62 feet away. So just a little bit of an increase, backing it out away from those residents, as well as the 8-foot masonry screening wall. I think it's just over 34 feet away from the residents, the chain link fence. The new masonry wall will be about 40 feet away, so given about another 6-foot buffer. And so here is just a visual representation of our standard masonry 8-foot screening walls that we do. So that's what, if it is visible from the residents' backyards, that's what they will see along the east side of our station. So going into a little bit benefits of replacing this station. So obviously improved electrical service. So it does serve, like I mentioned, just over 2,000 residents and businesses in the greater area. This equipment is pre-2000s, so it has reached its end of life, which does increase the likelihood or the probability that there could be some sort of failure in the future. So with the new equipment, it decreases that likelihood that there could be an issue with the equipment. And then reduced fire risk. It's a modern equipment, modern station, which we've seen there's an increase or a decrease in likelihood of any kind of emergencies taking place with related to fire. And then reduce noise. So going back to new equipment, there has been a lot of improvements made to just how transformers operate and their noise level that they have. So those new transformers are overall quieter. Reduce electrical fields. Electric fields strength is typically below background levels outside of a station fence. And then increased visual shielding, so making an improvement from the chain link fence to that 8-foot masonry screening wall. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you guys have.
Thank you. Any questions?
So we're going to increase it. Is that going to increase the number of residents that it can serve, or is it more of we're going to create excess and it'll go to your overall distribution network?
A little bit of both. It will increase the amount of load that we can serve out of that existing substation, and does increase the overall reliability.
Okay. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so walk me through this here.
Mm-hmm.
Reduced electrical field. So in plain English, what does that mean?
And so typically with the new modern type of transformers, with the improvement and just how transformers are built and operate in the new equipment, typically they can't really pick up any kind of electromagnetic field whenever you're standing outside of a station. Typically one kind of representation that I like to to mention is a microwave typically emits more EMF rating than you will whenever you're standing outside of a station. So,
Cool. No further questions from me.
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. If there's anyone that would want to speak on it. Okay, we'll close it for public comment. Any other discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion, and if you would, if we do have a motion,
You gotta
read out the conditions, please.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve action on a specific use permit case. Oh,
Oh, you gonna take it back to it?
Yeah, I'll take back the condition.
Thought we were in trouble.
yeah, I was about to say, I thought I was
Sometimes
doing
when
good.
we're
I was-
scrambling, it's because
I
we're
got-
in trouble, so.
I can't tell you about electrical fields, but I can read, for now anyway. Approve a specific use permit for case SUP 2026-03 with the conditions that an 8-foot tall masonry screening wall shall be installed and maintained along the portion of the property adjacent to residential uses as shown on the site plan, that an existing vegetation along the eastern property line shall be preserved where feasible to maintain a natural buffer between the substation and adjacent residential properties, that routine maintenance activities shall be conducted in a manner that minimizes impact on adjacent residential properties, including noise and light where practicable. Yeah, I think that's the right word. And access to the site shall be limited to the approved access points, and no access shall be taken from adjacent residential properties.
Do we, I'll second. You'll second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say same. Unanimous. Thank you, sir, for coming in. Appreciate it. Moving on to 5C, public hearing, discuss and consider action on a specific use permit case SUP 2026-04 regarding a specific use permit request for a radio, TV, microwave, or cellular transmission tower commercial in an R2 single-family district on one parcel of land approximately 15.97 acres plus or minus in size. More particularly described by the Nacogdoches Central Appraisal District Parcel 24944 and generally located on the south side of Douglas Road, approximately 1/4 mile east of the Northwest Stallings Drive, Nacogdoches, Texas. Mr. City Planner.
Commissioners, Juan Paulette, City Planner. So this site is approximately 16 acres in size and is located on the south side of Douglas Road, about 1/4 mile east of the loop. The property is largely undeveloped and consists of dense vegetation and tree cover. The proposed 240-foot tall communication tower is located near the center of the tract, providing separation from surrounding properties. The subject property is zoned R2 single-family residential, and the surrounding area includes a mix of zoning with general business zoning to the north and west and single-family residential zoning east and south. The future land use designation for the subject property is mostly rural development with a small section of single-family residential to the eastern side of the property. Both designations are intended to support low-density development patterns. The proposed communication tower is a low-intensity use and is not anticipated to negatively impact the compatibility of surrounding land uses. This slide shows a proposed site plan for the communication tower. The tower is located near the center of the property and is set back approximately 260 feet from the nearest property lines to the north and to the east or west. In the unlikely event of structural failure, the tower would fall within the boundaries of the property. The site will be accessed from Douglas Road, and the tower will include a small equipment area and surrounding chain link fence. Due to the height and its location within the airport airspace protection area, the proposed tower was reviewed by the Federal Aviation Administration and determined that the structure does not pose a hazard to air navigation. And this is the entrance to the subject property off of Douglas Road. And the adjacent property to the west. And these are adjacent residential homes to the east. This slide shows a 200-foot notification area for the request. Property owners within 200 feet were mailed notice letters, and property owners within 200 and 500 feet received a courtesy notice postcard. No responses were received in favor or in opposition of the request. A neighborhood meeting was held on March 23rd. One of the neighboring residents attended the meeting and had questions about the project but did not express any opposition. Staff has reviewed the request and based on this criteria and finds the proposed use is considered to be compatible with the surrounding properties, will not impede the orderly development of the area, and is not expected to create adverse impacts related to traffic, infrastructure, or nuisances. Staff is not recommending any additional conditions for this SUP, and I'll be happy to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Is there an applicant here that wants to present or no?
And before you get up here, we need a name and an address.
I got you.
Okay.
Michael Crane, representing Encore, 605 East Border Street, Arlington, Texas. And I don't have a presentation per se, but I'm happy to answer any questions from you or from the general public. So.
You didn't want to make it any bigger? It's only 240 feet. You
I know.
400.
Yeah, that's what was needed for the.
What size of flag you going to put on that?
I know, right? Yeah, with Christmas lights later too. So.
There you go.
Just out of curiosity, what is it going to be used for?
It's really for the electrical grid infrastructure. You know, it could be used for smart meters, but also for just any use from a technician. Communications like that, substation to substation communication. It's really part and parcel with the substation expansion. Using that, upgrading the communication system overall so it can communicate with other substations. If there were an outage, instant communication through microwave to be able to, notice there's an outage in the area. And so that helps very much when it comes to just instant communication with the technicians and other towers nearby.
So this will get when the trees fall over, this gets it fixed faster?
Yeah, generally speaking, the tree still has to be removed from the line still has to be, but it's going to notify the technicians.
I'm messing with you.
I get it.
Reach out to your customers.
It's just like that. It's going to fix it. Tree's going to come off because of this tower.
Fair enough. I have no other questions.
Is it a multi-purpose tower, like so other, you can lease out space?
And
I'm
in this
ignorant
case,
to this
no.
too?
No,
Okay.
this is strictly for
Strictly internal
Yeah,
or for
correct.
Encore? Okay.
no 5G on this one.
Okay.
No, so I don't have to wear a tinfoil hat or something.
I don't have anything else. Thank you. We'll open it up for public comment if someone would like to speak on it. Am I doing something wrong, Jerry? No? Jerry's our lawyer, so he kind of nods and shakes if we're doing something wrong here. So in any event, okay, we will close it for public comment and open it up for commission discussion. If there's any further discussion. Okay, entertain a motion when ready.
I will make a motion that we approve the specific use permit case SUP 2026-04 regarding the specific use permit request for a radio, TV, microwave, or cell transmission tower.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 5D, consider and make a recommendation concerning an amendment to Chapter 118 Zoning, Article 2 Administration, Division 2, Planning and Zoning Commission of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Nacogdoches, Texas regarding the appointment of alternate members to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Executive Director of Development and Infrastructure.
We stop at C.
Do you have the red lines in your packet?
No.
Okay.
I've got C. No, we stopped C. Yeah, I'm not at D.
I'll tell you what, they'll be on the screen, and I'll give you a minute to look at them. It's pretty straightforward. Evening Commissioners, Mike New, Executive Director of Development and Infrastructure. Tonight's item, ordinance amendment proposal, is to recommend the appointment of alternate members to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So, just a quick breakdown: the commission consists of 5 members, each appointed to 2-year terms. You meet once a month, typically on the second Monday of each month. And members have, in the last couple of years, have averaged 90% attendance. Your powers include recommending amendments to the city's comprehensive and thoroughfare plans, advise on zoning regulations, and then call public hearings to address requests for zone changes to tracts of land. Very simple, very straightforward. What's the driving force behind this recommendation? To step a little bit back, the Texas legislature in 2019, they amended municipal planning and subdivision requirements at the state level to basically put a time clock, what we call the shot clock, on plat approvals. I didn't mention it here because plat and subdivision authority is under a different chapter of our ordinances, but as a body, P&Z Commission, the Commission does have authority to approve plats. When plat requests or variances are submitted to the Commission, this new legislation, or fairly new now, pretty much puts the city, staff, administration, as well as the Commission on a timestamp to approve or at least hear what these requests are and make a determination. What's interesting about this is if we happen to miss that, one of the conditions of this state language is that it's deemed automatically approved. So what that does is essentially cedes authority if the Commission does not hear these items. For a couple of years initially before the legislature came back and made an update in 2023, municipalities were kind of mixing in plats and site plans and infrastructure dedication, all kinds of things that are reviewed, and sometimes within the Commission's purview. We've since cleared that up. It is limited somewhat to plat, subdivision authority. However, it's still an authority of the Commission and one that we want to ensure the Commission maintains and doesn't cede because of lack of quorum. Just in February and March, even tonight, we've had some instances where members' absences have risked the Commission obtaining a quorum. We do send out public hearing and notices weeks in advance in anticipation of these meeting dates. We want to ensure that the meetings are held. The appointment of an alternate, or here in this case 2 alternate members, would help ensure Commission participation, that we do end up holding those meetings and meet that quorum requirement. So what are we recommending specifically?
Mike, I have a question real quick.
Sure.
So I know we've had to, some of us on schedules well in advance knew our schedules were going to be off, but we recommended to move that meeting that would be conducive for the entire group. Why do we not do that?
So I think it was the March meeting.
I think it was February or it was one of the months though, but we were well in it, ahead of it, and we chose not to do it and just cancel the meeting.
There was 2 dates that we were, the week before and the week after.
Yeah.
And some people couldn't make the week before, some people couldn't make the week after. So we just kept it the same because either way we would have only had 3 or we wouldn't have had a quorum.
So it's a good point that you bring up. Certainly one other solution to this is we try and advertise a regular meeting date so that we can plan, we can provide notices to those meeting dates the second Monday of each month. As the Commission works through its schedule, each individual member identifies maybe some obstacles to that. The earlier we can address that at any given time, the better, because typically we want to be 60 days ahead of any conflicts to risk us sending out notices and having to change meeting dates. And we still have to keep those things on the agenda, unfortunately, because when we do send out public hearing notices, we're required to at least acknowledge them that they're on the meeting, and the council or the Commission would have to state that those have been either withdrawn or that they've been tabled or moved to another date. So there is some risk there, and you do have to get even, I would say, at least 60 days ahead if there are any conflicts. The alternate members is yet another solution, one that if the council appoints, and they would be appointing around, I think, June or July of this year. I believe 3 of the seats are up this year. So if we can add 2 alternates to that, we bring them right into the fold and we continue with business. As far as the procedures, this would not be as complicated as what the Zoning Board of Adjustment would do. I think Commissioner Zemanek, you've been sitting on the Zoning Ordinance Subcommittee. You've heard discussions about their rules of procedure. Council will probably dictate that order of alternates, and certainly the Commission may make some recommendations as to how that might work. But the Council can basically state that alternate 1 is appointed, alternate 2 is appointed, and that would be the ranking structure essentially for any fill-ins that would need to happen due to Commission member absences. It can be as simple as that. And the language you see on your screen here is the recommended amendment for this particular section.
So I know our colleagues on ZBA, they have kind of like the 9-man draw to figure out who's going to be where, when, what, and all that craziness. So we're not recommending that. If we
No.
did go in this direction, it would be that you'd have 2 permanent alternates who'd be expected to attend the meetings, or we would give notice to them through our regular check-in, and that way we know they're coming. And then the language in here says that it'll be only 2 alternates. So even in the case, I would assume if, 4 of the 5 commissioners are out, you could still put the 2 on there and hold quorum.
Ideally, you would still put alternate members on if you were short even 1 member. If you were
Got it.
meeting quorum with regular members, you'd want to fill 5 seats.
Okay.
And unless the ordinance prescribes a very specific procedure, and this kind of goes back to the ZBA approving their own rules of procedure, the commission could certainly consider that. The language that's even within the commission's description, the organization, there's at least one other section included here. It doesn't have to be 18 pages long, and anything that's not prescribed by the ordinance can be worked through administratively, as long as it's internal to how the meeting is conducted.
Got it.
One thing we did want to include here to make sure that we accounted for was, if we're going to include alternate members, that we identify what that quorum number is. We've assumed it's always been 3. It's been just 1 more to include a majority. We're defining it here. And this is a public hearing, so I'll entertain any comments or questions after the public hearing.
We'll open it up to public if they would like to speak on it.
No takers?
No takers. Okay, we'll close it to public comment. Thank you. And we'll open it up for commission discussion.
It's cleaner. The one they were doing with the ZBA when we were in that subcommittee meeting seems a little bit complicated. I'm not a fan of complicated. I'd rather it be, so.
There is one update to this. I believe I was updating it the last minute, so you won't see that on this screen. But I did want to mention, for the commission and public's sake, that the zoning ordinance subcommittee did review these proposed changes at the last meeting, which was March 31.
So, but the alternates don't come all the time, just when we tell them that we're not gonna be able to make it.
So the alternates would, again, we're spitballing, but we would try to treat it similar to our other alternates. We would provide them with the information for the agenda. We would provide them with the same notices that our commissioners receive, and they would be given opportunities to attend the meeting. Certainly, we would be requesting their attendance in the event of a commission member absence, if that's known ahead of time. Absolutely, they would be convened with in the order that they are appointed as such. Now, whether attendance is mandatory, that can be determined by the council. It could be a recommendation by the commission that we present with these changes, whether or not it's included as ordinance language.
Now, however, what we vote doesn't matter, right? If we choose not to do this, council can just go in and say that this is our process.
Any action you take tonight is a recommendation to the council,
Recommendation, okay.
because it is a change to the zoning ordinance.
So members that are not present but join remotely will not have the option to join remotely anymore?
Similar to how we treat our other meetings, including council, a quorum would have to be established here in person. Commissioners could still join virtually, but the ability to vote that first condition has to be met, which is a quorum has to be established in person for the meeting to be convened.
And those members obviously wouldn't vote because they're not here, but they would be able to weigh in at that point?
I might ask Jerry's opinion. As long as a quorum of voting members is established in person, I believe virtually would be able to vote,
I
correct?
knew Jerry wanted to talk to us today.
That's correct. Jerry Baker, City Attorney. To address the question, in my opinion, that if they're attending remotely but we have a quorum present, they could still participate in the meeting. Now, I think the scenario that we're talking about is they're not able to be here or attend remotely.
In that instance, one of these alternates or two alternates, if needed, like tonight, could attend and vote and participate in the meeting.
But for clarity, if there's a quorum present now, and Lily and Matt had joined remotely, and they may be on now, I don't know, but if anyone would have joined remotely, there would have been 5 votes.
Correct.
In that, how many votes are there if there's 5 of us here and 2 permanent members on the commission? Is there 7 votes at that point, or just 5? So their vote becomes null and void.
I don't think they get a vote unless.
Right.
I can speak to that.
They do.
There's a number of different scenarios that can happen, but essentially you're always going to have 3. If a meeting is convened, you're going to have 3 in-person voting. That could be 3 regular members, a combination of alternate and regular members. If you have 3 voting in person, you can either have, and you can't have more than 5 votes. 5 votes is it for action. But you could have 1 virtual and 1 alternate sitting there consisting of those 5 votes. It could be 1 alternate regular member and 4 regular members voting to make 5 votes. The alternate simply stands in the place of a missing regular member. The alternate member could also be virtual and vote if there are 3 in-person voting and taking action.
So do they weigh in as commission, or do they weigh in as public if we're all 5 here?
If all 5 members are present and attending the meeting, the alternates do not participate in the meeting.
So logistically, that would have to be something worked out. Obviously, if you had, we'll use Lily, for example.
Mhm.
You called, you weren't 100% sure she was going to participate. You have 2 alternates that are present, but she ends up joining remotely. Does one alternate become null and void at that point?
If there was a late participation, if one of the members, if you had 3 voting as a quorum and 1 came in late, but your alternates were ready to participate in person, your alternates would take that place and your regular member would not be participating in the meeting.
Okay. I wish they were all here so we could talk about this. I'd like to have a consensus.
I believe
of the regular
Commissioner
commission.
Folk can chime in.
Is she on?
Yeah, there's Lily.
We can barely hear you.
So I am listening and participating.
Lily, we cannot hear you very well. I don't know.
Hold on a second. Let me do my. Hear me what better now?
A whole lot better.
There we go.
Turn down our hearing
We're on.
aids.
Yeah, I said I'm here and I'm participating, so I'm listening to the question. You're asking all the questions I would be asking about virtual attendance, who would be able to vote, how would that be established? If they make it mandatory for the 2 virtual, stand-ins, if they're coming to the meetings, what qualifies, how many minutes afterwards, if we're late to a meeting, would that person stand in, 5 minutes, 10 minutes after meeting starts? Those are all my questions that I have as well.
Okay. Procedurally, there may be some finer details we can identify as part of this that may not be reflected via the ordinance, but simply a matter of procedure. Typically, we follow Robert's rules when it comes to meeting and how those
Right.
how those meetings are conducted. There may be something in there that I can pull and give reference to for the council's sake, so that they're informed of how these procedures might follow. But generally, we follow Robert's rules of order. Otherwise, we may get into a little bit more detail, like we did with ZBA, where we really get it granular about how alternates are appointed per meeting, or particularly if it was mid-meeting, how that would work. But generally, in my experience, when there have been alternates, Building Standards Commission, ZBA, previous cities, once an alternate is seated to participate in a meeting, they are seated for the entire meeting. There's no unseating of one and a replacement of another. They take action with the commission.
So,
Here, I also have the question. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead, jump in.
With these alternates, when they are appointed by the city council, when our appointments are up, are they going to be an automatic shoo-in to our seats? Is that what city council is trying to determine? Or are we actually going through the whole process again of applications and new alternates would be assigned? Or if they get appointed, they go into P&Z?
Alternates would be, I can assume that the procedure would be the same and that alternates would be appointed just like regular commission members are appointed or any other board or commission member is appointed. It's similar to our other commissions, including building standards and ZBA, where alternates are appointed in the same timeframes with the same terms that our regular members are.
Thank you.
Any other concerns, Lily?
Nope, those are my questions.
Okay.
Staff will bring this forward to the council on April 21st, and I believe the appointment notifications will begin going out sometime in mid-May for council to begin reviewing applications probably towards the end of June, early July, if they follow the same schedule. So we're trying to get on that schedule and begin promoting this in line with the other vacancies and end of term appointments.
Okay. And you'll refine the kind of the rules, if you will, around it, not the language here per se, but just.
I think what I'd like to do with the comments presented tonight is summarize those for the council and then present to the council what we anticipate the procedure would be for Planning and Zoning Commission in the event of different scenarios. I think we'll do that.
I know we all take this very seriously and we want to serve the public to the best that we can, but sometimes that's not confined into one little box. So
it never is, and we sometimes have to identify a process for that, even if it's not dictated on paper. We'll try to be consistent with our other commissions, our other boards, and how they conduct their business, and we do have some variances in that as well. But we'll try to be consistent with that. And if we follow this schedule, anticipating council appointments in July, that would likely seat the alternate members around August or September. So we've got a little bit of time.
you need a vote on this?
We would like a vote, yes.
We'll entertain a motion.
Well, we're gonna vote off
Let me get back to the red lines so you can vote on what you're seeing.
yeah, so we're voting on the recommendation concerning.
It is on your screen as well.
So we didn't have them in our books, but.
Lily, are you just as we're sitting here talking in discussion here, Matt's not here. Are you good with us? Your thoughts on moving forward with this?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we do need some alternates in case we're out of town.
Yep.
Like Mike had said, on processes and procedures, that's to be determined. I do have another question concerning the alternates. Does our board get any say in who gets appointed at all, or any input on the candidates that are going to be selected?
No, that would be up to the council.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, I understand what we're trying to do here, and it makes sense. So I'll make a motion to approve it as stipulated here, section 118-66 on the screen for appointment of alternates.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same. So that's 3-1 remote for it, none against.
No, 4-0, right?
4-0, yes, sir. Number 6, future agenda items. Commissioner may inquire about a subject for which notice has not been given. A statement of specific factual information or the recitation of existing policy may be given. Any deliberation shall be limited to a proposal to place the subject on an agenda for a subsequent meeting. Is there anything that the commissioners would like to add for a subsequent meeting?
Commissioners, I did want to point out that we have a new person on our staff. Her name is Kim Lee. She hails from Stephen F. Austin State University. She's had a long and storied career there, and she comes to us to just be a huge, huge help. I mean, we've needed her probably 6 months ago, and she's here now and running at full speed. So we're glad she's here, and she's here to help you, the commission, as well.
Welcome, Kim. It's good to have you here. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn. And time is 5:54.